Right, lads. UFC 105 back again in the Apex. Back for my best bets, the best tips, the breakdowns. Last week the lock didn't even go ahead, so I'm not going to count it. We would have been probably 6 for 6 if it went ahead because the way the Fife's was talking. It didn't go ahead. Gaston didn't get his fight. It's probably going to be rebooked somewhere in the US because according to Fife, Mexico is a shithole. But look, I don't agree with those comments. Never been there, but that's what Bodybags had to say. I think he was scared of losing. I don't think he would have made the weight, and somehow Gaston made the weight. So, look, who knows? But we'll move on to this week's Lock of the Week. It's Emmett versus Leroy Murphy in the main event. There's not really a lot for me to say. Last week was pretty piss, if I'm going to be 100% honest. But look, we'll go into the Lock of the Week.
Josh Emmett!
The lock is Josh Emmett. I mean, to begin with, look at the man. Look at the man. As I point, as I go with my other hand, look at the man. Look at him. He's a fucking mutant. I always call him the mutant. That's in no disrespect. This man is one of the heaviest hitters I've ever seen in 145. Like when he knocked out Bryce Mitchell, I genuinely thought he killed Bryce Mitchell. It was like, what the fuck? But again, the man only has 4 losses in the UFC, and that's to Ilia Topuria and Yuri Rodriguez, who both fought for the title. I do believe he takes out Danny fucking Calvin Cater, like Shane Bragos. He's really the man. If you want to step up, you have to beat. And unfortunately, because of the way that he usually fights, I'm picking him here because he's going to give a gritty 25. Easy gritty 25. Leon Murphy is the decision merchant realistic of the division. He's kind of the new Leon Edwards. I know they're in the same gym and all that. He's kind of the new Leon Edwards for this division. He doesn't really come out to excite. He's very well rounded, but doesn't really come out to excite anyone, and I don't think that's really in the game plan to come out and try and excite. I think it's just get the win by any means necessary, which in the UFC is not a bad thing. He's 15-0. I can understand where the odds have come from that he's 5-2 because of the 15-0 and people taking O as it's like some sacred thing. His Danny get fight was weird because you could argue Danny took that fight if you're going to be fair. He gassed strangely in 15 minutes. It didn't really look right. His Elza Barboza fight was very good. He dominated that fight. He kept the forward pressure. He put in the rest, and he put the striking well together. He is a well-rounded fighter, but it's just one of those ones where, if I don't want to call washed Elza Barboza, but not the same killer. I just see Josh Emmett would start to land and crack Leon, which would get him a lot more nervous. He's never been finished, fair enough, and I don't see a finish. I still see us going to decision. I just believe that Josh Emmett will put a gritty 15 minutes on him, be able to stop a majority of his takedowns around 4 or 5, and maybe be able to land a lot more leg kicks and really damage him in the legs and to the face. But I'm going with Josh Emmett. I think at these odds it's probably the right move. There isn't really a lot else on this card that realistically look to me, but look, we'll move down to the favourites. Right, so we go into the favourites. The favourites is a bit different than usual. So to start with, we go with Kennedy and Checkwell, who's been on a tear since coming up to heavyweight. He's knocked out Lucas Bresky and Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett injured himself. So, look, I don't think Martin Buday is too much higher than M2, to be 100% honest with you. I think Martin Buday is another one. Martin Buday could have been cut from the UFC after that Andrei Arlovski fight, if we're being honest. It does take 2 to tango, but that man was just not even trying to look for a finisher, and he was holding him against the cage. Dana cut Andrei Arlovski fairly, probably was close to cutting Buday. I'd say if Buday loses this one, he could be out the door. He's only realistically beaten the same quality, but went to decision. He went to a split decision with Bretsky, Jake Collar decision. Of course, he submitted Josh Parisian. I feel like most people could do that in the UFC. Lost to Shavil Gagiz with a standing TKO, which I get. He only got a technical decision over Chris Barnett, where I thought he could have been DQ'd. I was kind of confused by that one. And Andrei Arlovski, he hasn't beaten anyone. I really don't see Ucheku failing this. I think that he gets it. With him not having to probably cut his natural weight, he definitely is a lot better. KO could be on the cards, but I'm definitely going to pick him. Don't shoot the messenger, but KO could be on the cards. Next we go with Victor Henry over 1.5. I usually pick fighters on this, I know I do, but this card is really weird because it's all women fighters. They're 1-6, 1-7. I'm not going to throw them in, but I will play Victor Henry to go over 1.5. Victor Henry was finished in his last fight by Charles Jourdain, but Charles Jourdain's very good. Pedro Falcao is okay. I can see this going over the 1.5 don't think we're going to have anything shaky. I assume it's going to be a decision. Nothing special, to be honest. But we'll move down to the fight not to go the distance of the Odie Osborne fight. To be honest, this Louis Grood fella that he's fighting, the 10-0 lad, he looks pretty poor. His fight with Jack Pancherini on the Contender Series was not brilliant. I've watched him on the regional scene. He doesn't really move his head. He's decent wrestling if he can get on the inside, but when he gets there, he doesn't really move the head. He leaves the chin out. I can see Odie Osborne maybe getting the better of that. Even, late shoot takedown, Odie Osborne grabs the submission. Now, I'm not saying Odie Osborne won't get finished because Luis Gural has powerful hands, and I mean powerful hands, but it's just... He keeps the head in the centre line, could definitely be caught by Odie Osborne. Either of these two could finish each other, that's why I'm going with no distance. I just see it being really the case. And then Geranison Brito shouldn't probably be on this card because he didn't lose in France. If that is in any other part of the world but France, he wins that fight. William Gomez did not beat him. Just robbed by the French judging. Other than that, he's knocked out great competition like Jack Shore, Jonathan Price, Andre Fili. He lost to Bill Algeo, but look, these are all like 3 years ago. Beat out Chepe Mascal on LFA. It's just he took out a lot of them. He trains a shoot box, so that should really tell you what you need to know. He trains a shoot box, a great gym. Pat Sabatini's not bad on the other side of the card. I just don't see him really being able to do anything to Geranison Brito, considering the man is really good. I have no idea how he lost that fight in France. That's the reason he's here. We'll get down to this ACA, about a tenner on this. I think gives back 42, but I could be wrong. Look at the end. Right, we'll get on to the underdog. So the underdogs is where I'm going to kind of get into a bit more of it. The favourites, I think, kind of spoke for themselves. We're going with Royce McCree. Now, big Skeletor here, Irishman himself. We had a clean sweep in London, so I'm tempted to pick him just because I don't think Daniel Fugazi is that good. Like, his finish on the Contender Series came from his opponent gassing by trying to push too many takedowns. It was a good finish by him, but nothing really else. But watching him on the regional scene, he has heavy hands, but it's kind of basic finishes. It's all kind of basic stuff. Like, look, I'm not going to say that Royce McCree's brilliant. He's 0-4 in the UFC in his runs, fine. But Angelo's at that fight, like, that could have gotten a lot closer if it wasn't in France, if we're going to be realistic. If that wasn't in Paris, you could have seen a robbery in the US. You could have seen a realistic split given to him. He almost had him finished in the last 30 seconds. You give him, I said 15 more seconds in that round, he would have finished him. And look, losing to Chin Shidi and Cheku is really not that bad. Like, he's a good fighter. The one thing I will take from this is that Royce McCree's never actually been finished. Like, he's never been finished by anyone in the UFC but Shamzat, but that's completely different. That was, Hungry Boar. But I mean, he's fought Alex Morono, Angelusa, Chin Andrenku, and has not been finished by any of them. That's pretty decent. When, to me, Daniel Fahezi is just someone who has power in his hands, no real grappling, no real anything else. It's just, I think if the power shots don't take out Royce, I think he might be a bit flat-footed on what to do. I think that's where Royce will take over. I'd almost want to say McKee gets the finish, but I won't say that. I'm just going to pick him because the decision is very likely. Next, we go with the English actual vet, Davy Grant. I know I've talked about Davy Grant before on this channel. He's fighting Daniel Santos, which Daniel Santos is pretty good. Willie Cash, like Wildcat, he's decent, I won't lie, but it's just one of those ones where I believe you give him a UFC veteran like Davy Grant, Big Dangerous. He really puts in a good gritty 50 minutes. I think I've talked about him twice, or once in the card on this channel before, where I said he's a gritty, hard fighter, and he does. He comes out with a gritty style, he bites down the mouth guard, he's going to give you a good solid 50 minutes of pressure straight in your face, he won't move back. I just think leg kicks could play a massive factor. I do believe that Daniel Santos stands a lot on his lead legs. I think if he starts to land big kicks, Davy, and big strikes, it could definitely just sway to Davy with the judges. I'm not going to go with a finish, but definitely great, Davy on the judges. Then we'll go with GM3. Now, I'm going with GM3 because Brad Tavares to me is absolutely fucking shite. I won't lie to you. Like, if we're being fair, the man is 15-10 in the UFC, and his only real win of note over the last year was Chris Weidman, who sat there like a mannequin or one of those training dolls you'd use for like jiu-jitsu practice, where you just kind of grapple him and use him fight back. He was literally just sitting down on all fours, getting yelled at to move and do something, and the ref done like he didn't move. It's one of those weird ones where he steps up and fights anyone with any sort of quality, over the last years, and he loses. Like, if you're being realistic, he lost to Drakus. Fair enough, champion. Bruno Silva, knocked him out badly. Robocop knocked him out. Now, Iron Turtle, Johnson Park, fair enough, they're all good. It's just, I can see GM3 being one of these people that kind of is able to grapple him and get him down to the mat. Like, Randy Raiders' fight against GM3 started to drop him a bit, but like, he beat Brian Barriano with a finish, Edmund Shabazi, and he submitted both them. Like, I think he's just one of these ones where if he gets it to the mat, I think he can submit him quite easily. I just don't think Brad Tavares will have, if we go into more of the fight, I do believe that GM3 has the power to be able to just drag him down and submit him. I believe that. It's just one of those things that I just see happening. For all these odds, I have a feeling that this is what's going to land. That's going to be it. We'll go on to the ACA here now. Here we are now by the ACA. So we'll go to the total rounds to begin with. So we'll go with the over 1.5 in the Victor Henry fight at 2-9. We will pick... no distance inside this fight. Sorry, I usually don't do, no distance. I usually don't do most of this stuff. Kenny, we'll bring in Big Kennedy. He's actually dropped it 2-7. He's actually gone in more, and Sandro Brito. So that will give you 40 off a tenner. That's what the ACA's going to be there, lads. That's going to be it. I also wanted to add a new section in here that I'm going to do right now. I'm going to actually call this just crazy bets, realistically, that I think have a really, really good chance of landing. I'm going to call it the Hail Mary. I think it's the way to do it. So what I'm thinking here for this is that you go with Estela Nunes, no distance. You then go... I go under 1.5 inside the grand fight, and under 1.5 in Terrace Finney. 5 on that, 179. That's going to be the crazy ACA. I'm going to throw this on as well. So no distance in the Nunes fight, no distance in a Cartavius Ramius fight. Under 1.5 in the Terence Finney and Odie Osborne fight, and that's what it's going to be. That's the way it's going to look. That should be it. So... that's going to be the new segment, the Hail Mary. But if you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I will do another one of these next week like we always do. If you want to have any say yourself, any predictions, any breakdowns. Oh, sorry, let me give you the full card breakdown. I'll do it quickly. I'm not going to talk too much. So I'll talk about the fights that I didn't put in. Carvius Romius versus Kang Ho Lee. Both not very good. Road to the contender versus road to the UFC. I'd sway towards Lee, but with no real confidence. Terence Finney versus Robert Valentin. I have no confidence in Terence Finney. I think that he's just an overbloated middleweight that shouldn't be fighting at 185. So based on that, I'd say he's going to take a pretty poor decision, but he will win the fight. I'm going to take Odie Osborne to beat Luis Corral. Realistically, the Diane Barboza should be the other Romanian woman, and I go Vanessa Delopoulos with no confidence, and lobotomy just because Nunes is 0-4 in her MMA career. So yeah, that's what I'm going to pick on the card. She's lost her last 4. I don't see any points. So that's what it's going to be. That's going to be the full card breakdown. No real need to explain. But anyways, if you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you did enjoy the video, hit the like button. If you never hit the subscribe button, put down below who you're betting on or anything like that. And I will see you next one. Peace.